not everything you feel is intuitive, and not everything you feel is anxiety either. And if you've been second guessing yourself, it's not because you don't trust yourself. It's because you haven't quite learned how to separate the two. Hi, welcome back to the Grow with Gabby podcast. I'm your host, Gabby Roberts, and today we're talking all about the difference between intuition and anxiety and how to actually start trusting yourself again to tell the difference between the two. So before we dive in, go ahead and hit the subscribe and follow button so you never miss another episode. Okay, let's get into it. So first, let's reframe this whole thing. Your intuition is not something you need to go find. It's something that you already have. Everyone has an intuitive feeling inside. This isn't about gaining something new. It's about learning to hear what's actually there more clearly. So most people don't trust their intuition because they've been taught that they need to rely on logic first, which that taps into the anxiety. The logic brain is not here to keep you happy. It's here to keep you alive, and same for your anxiety, right? So they've also been conditioned to look outside of themselves. That is not something a lot of people were taught when they were small, is what do you think? It's okay, well, what does everyone else think? Or what does your parent think? Or what is everyone else doing? They've practiced second guessing themselves their entire life instead of actually just deciding. So this is not that you don't have intuition. You do. It's just that the fact that your intuition is competing with the other loud inputs of the brain. Because again, the brain, the anxiety, the logic brain, it's not here to keep you happy. It's here to keep you alive, truly. So it is designed for survival, not exactly alignment. And I know how frustrating that can be because anxiety can be so frustrating to deal with it, but we do need it. If we had no anxiety at all, what would be that, thing we lean on when we're in moments of danger? Your body and your brain and your anxiety is constantly scanning for risk, for uncertainty, for things that feel like a threat, things that could go wrong. Because that's what it does. That's what it's designed to do. And that's where your anxiety comes in. So it's not a flaw. I know, trust me, as someone who used to have panic attacks every single day, it feels like a burden. It feels awful. And it feels like you're dying in the moment. But it's not a flaw. It's just a system function of the body. And we need it. We really do. But oftentimes we sit there and we're like, how do I eliminate it? And that's the thing. You don't eliminate it. You need it to survive. The goal isn't to completely get rid of it. It's simply to stop letting it lead your life. Stop letting it run things. Okay. For me, I used to not leave the house because of my anxiety, because everything was a trigger and it just kept me stuck. It kept me small. It kept me inside. I didn't really do much, but I wasn't empowered like I am now. And that's really why we're learning about the brain and the anxiety and the intuition and how to work with the two. So we don't have to let it lead our life. We get to be the leader of our own life. We get to choose how we feel. We get to choose our actions, and we get to choose what we do differently. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about why it gets kind of messy. It gets a little blurry. Anxiety, intuition can show up at the exact same time. And that is confusing. I myself took me a long time to figure this out. I was like, is this anxiety or is this intuition? Should I run or should I stay? Right? Both can feel activated in your body. Now, some may argue that that's not true, but sometimes your body and intuition, your anxiety, can both say, hey, I need a pause. I need to slow down. Both can show up when you're expanding and doing something new. So the question kind of becomes like, ooh, is this not aligned for me? Or am I growing? Right? Because sometimes that pain from your anxiety is it going, ooh, no, I only know what is familiar. Because like I talked about in a couple episodes before, your brain does what it knows that's familiar. Same for your nervous system. Like it loves familiarity. So when you do something different, like listen to your intuition, which you've never really learned how to do, that can feel foreign. It can feel new. It can feel like a threat. Therefore, the anxiety comes up. And that's where a little bit of that discernment comes in. So let's talk about what is the real difference? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How can you balance it? Okay. Intuition is more of a quiet, direct, grounded, this kind of like sense of knowing. Like I can't explain it. It feels right and it feels true to you. It feels grounded. It doesn't feel the need to over explain. It's just like, this is it. It's a knowing. It's an energy. It's a feeling. There's also an intuitive pull. When you feel, for example, like I was leaving the house and I saw my hat on the table and I glanced at it and there was this little pole that was like, oh, you might need your hat today. But it was cloudy. And I was like, I don't need my hat. Like the logic brain popped in and it said, you don't need your hat, leave it. But my intuition said, you might need that today. And what happened? Don't know why. Didn't make sense to the logic brain. But 30 minutes after I left the house, the sun came out. I didn't have my glasses. I was like being just blinded by the sun. And I ignored that intuition. Why? Because I was taught to ignore my intuition. And many of you were too. So it doesn't often make any logical sense, but that does not mean that you should not trust it. And it feels clean, it feels grounded, it feels calm, it feels centered, it feels really relaxing to make an intuitive decision. It almost feels empowering. But if you're like still making that decision and your anxiety comes up, maybe that's not an actual intuitive decision. Maybe that is your anxiety. And this is why we're talking about the difference. So intuition is the quiet, grounded, the all-knowing. It doesn't really make sense, but it feels good. I know it in my soul, right? That's intuition, okay? Anxiety is fast and it's loud and it's repetitive and it tries to problem solve everything. We need to solve this right here, right now. That's why sometimes when we are feeling dysregulated or have high anxiety, we don't know what we need. I talk a lot about this with my clients. I'm like, what do you need right now? And they're like, I don't know. And even when I'm dysregulated and my anxiety is high, I don't know what I need because that's your anxiety. Your anxiety needs that certainty before moving because certainty is safe. Certainty is familiar. Certainty is predictable. All things that your brain and your nervous system love. Okay. So anxiety goes, oh God, oh God, oh God, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if? And it panics and it freaks out and it looks for every solution. It's like it's firing on all cylinders and it's exhausting. Anxiety disrupts the nervous system. Anxiety makes you shake, makes you sweat, makes you freak out, makes your heart beat really fast. That is anxiety. Anxiety tries to control. Okay. Intuition is a guide. So think about it. And this is where I like to start using real life examples here, like decision making. Think about where in your life you have tried to make a decision and something stopped you. Was it your intuition or was it your anxiety? Okay. Intuition says, this is the move. It doesn't have to make sense, but this is it. I know it. I'm confident about it. I'm calm about it. Anxiety says, well, but what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And what if this happens? What if this happens? And that's okay. You can still make an intuitive decision and then your anxiety pops in. But then you have to remind yourself, my intuition knows what it's talking about. You have to trust that. Oftentimes, for example, I just left one of the teams that I was with for a long time and it broke my heart. And the anxiety in me was like, just stay, just stay, just stay, just stay. But my intuition said, my love, nope, we're growing. And we're growing away from this. And we have to trust that this is the right move. And that's hard. When you have those decision-making like opportunities and it's a massive decision, that's when you really want to lean on your intuition the most because your anxiety is going to say run or stay even or whatever it is about the different search situation. Sometimes people fear breaking up. Should I leave? Am I going to be alone? Is this going to be awful? Is it going to work out? All of that, that's anxiety. Intuition says, I'm going to be okay. Like, for example, if you have an opportunity and someone's offering you a job and they're like, this is how much I'm going to pay you. And something in you just spikes your heart rate and your heart is beating like a hummingbird. And you're like, what is your problem? Like, this is what you wanted, right? That's the logic brain trying to make sense of it. But that's your intuition going, oop, something's not right here. Intuition and anxiety, again, they can feel very similar. Sometimes they can even be paired. But you have to silence the anxiety to really hear the truth underneath, okay? So when you're going to take that job, is this really what I want? Or am I taking it because my anxiety says I should? Your anxiety will should all over you. So think about that. Like, really, what if you're not ready, right? That's anxiety. Intuition says this feels aligned. And you'll know it's a different feeling in the body when you have an intuitive answer. And you can sit with the discomfort of trusting your intuition. Of course, sometimes those uncomfortable situations, those decisions are painful. But if you trust your gut, most times it works out. If your gut and your heart are usually on the same page, that's how you know your intuition's like good. But when your brain and your gut are battling, that's okay. Let them. They're supposed to. Again, your brain is not here to keep you super happy all the time. It's here to keep you alive. Okay. So for example, when your intuition in a relationship, you're like, ooh, something feels off, or like this doesn't feel aligned, Or on the flip side, this feels right. Like, those relationships where you're like, yeah, I don't know, something's off, man, but he's like so cute and he's like nice to me and like, he's got a good job. He looks like pretty from the outside, but like something is not right, and it's not always like that. These are completely just examples I'm throwing out at you. This could be anyone, man, woman, other, doesn't matter. Whoever, if you met a person that makes you feel like something's off, like trust that, because there's a difference between an intuitive knowing that says, hey, something's not right here, we gotta go. And there's a difference between something looking for a problem because you're anxious and then like sabotaging a relationship. Okay. So that's why I'm talking about these real life examples here. So again, just when you have your relationship, you got to trust that when something feels off. This can also not like, yes, this can be in a relationship with a partner, a spouse, whatever, but this can also be friends, family, coworkers, business partners. I mean, like anyone, someone you don't even know on the street. Someone comes up to you, they're standing a little too close to you, they follow you into an elevator, like something feels off, right? And there's a difference. There's a difference. I'll give you two examples here. One person walks in the elevator. She is so anxious that she's looking for a problem. He goes to put his hand in his pockets, this man standing next to her, and she freaks out going, oh, he's reaching for something. Oh God, I'm certain that there's something wrong. There's a threat, right? No, there could not have been a threat. He probably was going to get a chapstick or his phone or something in his pocket, or simply just putting his hands in his pocket. That is the anxiety looking for a threat. That's how you sabotage relationships. It's how false accusations happen. Like, things get messy that way, and they can escalate really bad, especially if you were, pulled out a weapon because you thought that he was trying to hurt you. That's your anxiety going, oh shit. There's trauma responses, there's anxiety. Again, your body's probably freaking out at this stage. Okay. But your body might freak out if you know intuitively, hey, I don't feel safe. But again, there's a difference between run or fight, right? And slowly walk away. In some situations, you have to listen to your intuition with everything you have, or else it could literally cost you your life, right? So if that same person comes into the elevator, they're looking at you funny, you are being aware, you're close to the buttons, you're being aware, you're doing all the things to keep you safe, but something in you just says, yeah, something's not right. And you can't figure out what it is. And the thing is, you don't have to. You just have to trust your gut and leave the elevator. Okay. Now let's flip it. You meet somebody for the first time, even if you've been abused in the past, you meet someone for the first time and you're like, wow, this feels so right. Like, I feel safe. I feel calm. I feel grounded with you. I feel like I'm home. That is your intuition saying this is a safe person. Okay. Now your anxiety, again, we're not bashing the anxiety. The anxiety is fine. The anxiety is designed to freak the fuck out. Okay. We're just learning the difference between who do I trust in the moment, my anxiety or my intuition, and how do I decipher from the two. Okay. Someone you meet who doesn't have good vibes, even though they may seem like a nice person on the outside, and you're like, I don't know what it is. Again, that's still intuition. Something could feel right or something could feel wrong. Something could feel off. Okay. Analyzing every detail, trying to figure something out. That's your anxiety. So there's so many more examples I could give you on this. I like to start really, really small when I start to build through the self-trust. And this is the way that I help all my clients too, is we really need to rebuild this self-trust with small actions. How many times in your life have you kept a person in your life or an opportunity that you knew wasn't good for you, but you kept them there anyway because you didn't trust your intuition and your anxiety was so loud, and you're trying to trust your anxiety that if I say something, they'll leave, or if I hold a boundary, they won't agree with it, or if I take this job, I'll be happy, right? Like, you're convincing yourself that it's the truth. Intuition has its own knowing. And so sometimes we make decisions and then we kind of fail and we go, oh, okay, I thought that was the right answer, but I realized it wasn't. So you just kind of have to take a big step back and start to rebuild that trust with yourself. Hey, intuition, I'm sorry I didn't trust you before. You're right. That person hurt me. That job wasn't what I wanted it to be. It didn't work out. But now I can rebuild. And it starts from being taking very small actions. For instance, I do this all the time with myself, with my clients. I'll literally put an apple and a banana in the kitchen, or tea and coffee, just two things that are very simple, very easy decision. And I say, what do I want today? And I do it with my eyes open because I know my anxiety is going to go, oh, I don't know how to pick both. And then I close my eyes and I say, what do I want today? For instance, like my body gets to decide. I want the banana. I imagine the banana is, good for my belly and I'm working on my gut health. So I make that decision. And then I go, yay, good job. You just trusted your intuition. You made the decision and that you did it. You started really small and you chose the thing you actually wanted and you followed through on it and you didn't override yourself, which is huge because like the more you do that, the more you follow your own cues, the stronger that bond is with yourself, with your self-trust, with your self-love, with your intuition. So when things come around, like opportunities and people and things that are exciting, you don't have to ask anyone else in your external world. Like one of my coaches always tells me, before you go external, go internal. Like ask your intuition, what do you think? Because they have an answer. There's just been years and years and years that they were like, oh, I have a say here? Like, cool, nice. Because your anxiety's been running the show. Okay. So it becomes more and more clear, and that bond with your self trust and with your intuition becomes stronger when you start really small. For instance, like, what do I want to wear today? Like, that's a big one. I don't know what I want to wear, like, truly. And sometimes my brain's like, well, you should look nice because you have meetings. And then my intuition goes, okay, well, I don't care about how I look. I care about how I feel. So I'm going to put on something comfy. Like I'm wearing one of my little jumpsuits right now and I'm so comfy. But did my anxiety pop in and it was like, oh, well, you have a podcast. You have to look nice. Sure, it did. But did my intuition go, okay, and I get to decide what I want to wear today. So it seems silly to do something with this small, but I closed my eyes and I allowed my intuition. Oftentimes when our brain is going, it's looking for things, it's scanning, it's doing the most. It's doing its job. But when we close our eyes, we allow the heart to really get to speak and like ask ourselves and our intuition and our bodies. You'll know when you're making a wrong decision when your body disagrees with it, when something tightens. Sometimes it's your stomach, sometimes you feel pressure in your gut, sometimes it's right here in the throat, sometimes it's in the neck. Like, pay attention. I'll ask myself, how do I feel about this decision that I'm making? And sometimes my gut gets really tight and I'm like, ooh, maybe not. And that's okay. So just the more you do it, even if it starts really tiny, you can start doing bigger tasks. Like, do I want to go travel to a different country? Do I want to leave my job? Do I want to end my relationship? Like, these are massive decisions that need to be taken delicately. You don't want to just feel one blip of anxiety and then just there's the door and you run for the hills because things got uncomfortable. Like, truly, you have to balance it. So you don't want to remove anxiety completely. Again, we need it desperately. We need it. You'll be thankful you have it if something happens in that time and you need it and it protects you. Okay. But we're not removing it. We're regulating it. You let it speak, okay, but you don't let it decide. You don't let it run the show. You create space. You allow yourself to slow down. You close your eyes. You meditate. You silence the other noise. Sometimes the other noise are from internal. Sometimes it's my different parts. One part of me wants this. One part of me wants this. One part of me wants this. And I have to balance all of them. I get to silence the noise. I get quiet and I get to really feel what's actually there. For me, I just got an intuitive pull to take that breath. I was like, I think I'm talking a little fast, and that's okay. I get really excited. I get really passionate, and I have to like tell myself to ground again. And it's all about balance. Am I going to have times where I'm completely anxious and feeling awful? Yes. I had a breakdown literally yesterday. But guess what happens with breakdowns? They always lead, most times, don't always lead, to breakthroughs. Okay. So from that place, I get to choose what I want for myself. And I learned yesterday from my own anxiety, my own intuition, that I need to start putting less pressure on myself to be perfect, to have everything done, to know all of the things, because that's your anxiety. That's your trauma response, trying to plan everything and control everything. Because if it can control, you stay safe, So when you are freaking out and you're dysregulated and you're overwhelmed and you're just like, I don't know what I need, take a moment and just breathe. Like, close your eyes or lower your gaze to the floor. Like, use whatever you have for your grounding tools. If it's essential oils, if it's little crystals, like literally touch something soft, describe something in great detail, like allow yourself to accept it. Again, you let the anxiety speak. I hear you. I acknowledge you. I validate you. But I'm not going to let you run the show. I hear you. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tap into my intuition and let her take the lead. And you can ask that part of your intuition, thank you for protecting me. Thank you deeply for trying to keep me safe. But I got it from here. Would you allow me to please just at least walk alongside you? Or you just take a back seat, or wait here and I'll be back to get you. Oftentimes, I literally put my own parts in their own rooms and I'm like, this is what you guys need. I promise you I'm coming back. Even the abandonment parts, like whatever, they don't come back, I'm coming back. Because I know that my intuition is an all-knowing that I'm coming back, that I will be okay, that I will figure it out, that I'm strong and I'm powerful and I have the tools and the resources to get through this. But you get to decide. And no one else can decide for you. Of course, you can ask other people and you can, take what sticks and leave the rest, but you really want to tap into your own intuition. Because there's so many things and so many shiny objects saying, do it this way and do it this way. And we only really know what works for us. So yeah, it could work for other people, but try it. If it doesn't work for you, try something else. Like, I don't want to be that person who ever has someone lean on them fully. Because I don't know. You have a different body, you have a different brain, you have different trauma, you have a different nervous system. I don't know what you need. You know what you need. I'm just the one flipping on the lights in the dark going, hey, look at all the tools you have. You got this, right? So your intuition is not missing. It's not gone. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just been competing with so much other noise from the world, from your mind. And the more that you silence some of those other noises, not dismiss them, not get rid of them, silence them, meditate with them, hear them, acknowledge them, work with them, balance. Balance them instead of questioning yourself, the easier it will become to hear those intuitive thoughts. There's so many times where I have gone on a walk and I thought I needed to listen to music. And then 5 minutes in, I turned the music off. Why? Because I couldn't hear my intuition. All I could hear was my brain going yapping and doing what it's supposed to. Okay? So silence the noise. Allow your intuition to speak, because your heart and your body is very wise and it knows. And you know deep down what you need. Okay? All right. That's what I got for you today. If you absolutely loved this episode, please go ahead and rate it 5 stars, leave a review, tag me on your Instagram at gabbyroberts.coach so I can personally reach out. And thank you so much for listening. And if this meant something to you, if you're like sitting there and some gears are churning in your brain, good. Write them down. Share them with me. Share this with a friend, because that's really the only way this podcast grows, is by you sharing it naturally. So just thank you for being a part of this. And I will leave you the same way I leave you every week. Be fearless, be free, and find what works for you, even if it's different or messy. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.